O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. May Rotary friends and Rotary ways help us to serve thee all our days.
Good morning. I'd like to introduce guests, the two that I have as guests. Margaret Cornish, if you could stand up. Guest of Terry Jones, thank you. And Brecken Gage, guest of Janet Power.
Now we're going to have Murray Ramsbottom come up and introduce our speaker.
President, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed my pleasure today to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Jamie Hammond, Colonel retired Canadian Forces. Jamie assumed his responsibilities as Private Secretary to the Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia and as Executive Director of Government House in October of 2011. He has served 2 consecutive Lieutenant Governors. He just recently retired from his position at Government House to accept an appointment as an Assistant Deputy Minister in the BC Government. He was born in Kingston, but he moved to Victoria in 1974. He's a graduate of Esquimalt Senior Secondary, and the University of Victoria. He has a Master's of Arts in International Affairs from Carleton University and a Master's of Strategic Studies from the U.S. Army War College. Jamie also pursued doctoral studies at Carleton, where he subsequently taught political science. As a member of the Canadian Forces, he's been posted across Canada and to Germany, Brunei, Bosnia, Afghanistan, and England. Jamie Hammond will speak to us today on Afghanistan, myths, realities, and prognosis. Jamie?
But it was a very difficult decision to leave Government House in her honour. Rotarians have been partnered with the Government House Foundation, putting libraries all over the province. It's not only putting libraries in communities, it's building bridges between Rotarians and local First Nations up in I'm not going to give a standard military sort of briefing on the shooting and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to try to talk about the culture of Afghanistan. But when you look at Canadians that were there, when you saw the news reports, you were seeing them from one small part of Afghanistan, usually from Kandahar province. They were working at winning hearts and minds, and they were also very young Canadians negotiating on a local level with elders from villages who have done the same thing with Russians. I'm very proud of our Canadian forces, as I was there right in 2002. At the beginning of the operation and again toward the end of the operation. I saw how our allies turned to Canadians for advice and to try to find best practices from Canadians. You're running a military operation, you're a bit like this rider. It's chaos all around you. You're going to lose a few cattle here or a few cattle there, but just keep moving the herd in the right direction. In addition, in Afghanistan, the vast majority of Afghans follow the same version of Islam. They're all Sunni Islam. There's very little difference. So Afghanistan's been a crossroads of trade for centuries. The ruby on Her Majesty's crown is the Prince of Wales ruby. It was actually, of course, stolen from the French, which that's a very British thing to do. But it was mined in Afghanistan back in at least the 1300s and likely earlier than that. Alexander the Great, who everyone in Afghanistan knows, it's Ixander, that's his name. He conquered Afghanistan. There are still cities in Afghanistan that he founded. Even Kandahar was founded by Alexander the Great. There's still Genghis Khan went there, killed everyone in Herat, went back 2 weeks later after people came out of the mountains and killed everyone else. So here's a map of Afghanistan. It's about the size of Manitoba, but that's in area, but if you look in height, it's no comparison at all. Everything in white there, the highest mountain in Canada is just over 5,000 meters, Mount Logan. There are mountains that go up to 8,000 meters on the edge of Afghanistan. Where there's irrigation in Afghanistan, there's wonderful crops. I've never tasted sweeter watermelon or sweeter grapes. Kurzig herders that still live their lives as herders up in the northwest corner of Afghanistan. and a very different lifestyle. Maybe it's 20 minutes from downtown Kabul. So Kabul, the capital of the city, and this is the Mahipur Pass. This is just going from one part of Kabul province, a very small province in the middle of the country, to another part of the same province. And that's what it looks like. So the lesson is, though, it's a very challenging country geographically. To say you're going to send the military in there and they'll solve everything in a week, it's not going to happen. Just the different ethnic groups. There's two main languages in Afghanistan. There's many languages, but two main ones. Pashto, spoken by the Pashtun, and this green is where the Pashtuns are. And of course, it goes straight across the border into Pakistan. And Pakistan has never controlled the northwest frontier provinces. It's always been independent fiefdoms and warlords running it. And then the other main language is Dari. It's a form of Persian, and it's spoken right across the country, and it's probably the lingua franca in Afghanistan. It's the most used language. Mullah Omar was the leader of the Taliban. Talib is Arabic for book, the book, and students of the book were known as the Taliban. And during the chaos after the Russians left, there were roadblocks everywhere, there were rapes, there were attacks, there was murder, all sorts of things going on. And Mullah Omar from the Kandahar area created a group of vigilantes to basically bring order to the country. There's no Taliban alternative form of government. It's a general term for everybody who is fighting against the Afghan government. So this is a map of the violence in 2011. And the redder it is, the more violent. And we actually did statistics to compare New York City to Kabul. New York City is more violent than Kabul. NATO forces been there for a decade. There's been a lid on the violence so that schools can carry on. So now a friend who was there after the Canadians left, who was the senior Canadian in an American headquarters doing all the training, Wayne Eyre, who's now a commander in Edmonton, he said they're now at the point where the police officers coming into the police and soldiers into the military can read and write. But there's still a mix between what police do and what military do. And that was one of the focus areas of trying to get the police to do police work. There's a lot of drugs in Afghanistan. It's still a problem. And there has been a change in government. Ashraf Ghani is the president now. That's the book I had to study before I went to Afghanistan by Ashraf Ghani and an American woman named Claire Lockhart. Fixing Failed States. He's now the president. To me, Afghanistan's been left in good hands. And the final thing, I won't go through all this, is the kids. That's what it's, if people say, was it worthwhile? Yes, it was.
From our members, we'd like to present you with a certificate. It's called Operation Eyesight. And in your name, eyesight has been restored to a 58-year-old lady in India.
The board had a meeting a week ago, and onto the aspect of membership, it was agreed that any of the members could bring a guest once, free of charge, and it would be covered by the club as an introduction to Rotary. Now, George, would you like to come up, please? We have recognition pins. We're going to take that one over to Pat. The rest of the people, would you please come up and get it? Serena Hoy, Mary Jacquard, Blair Dunsmore, Paul Chow, Terry Toon, and Steve Wallace. Oh yeah, there we are. There's another sheet to this. Mary McManus, Kim McGowan, and Ernie Yurdo. Now, fortunately, we had the video, so you don't have to stand still, that they could have a shot of the fact that you're receiving these awards. Rotary Foundation minutes we had.
We had a meeting of our committee last Thursday or something. We decided the Rotary Club of Victoria BC Foundation is too much of a mouthful, so we're going to call it, informally, the Club 90 Foundation. And next week, Byron Hills is going to give us about a 7-minute presentation that's absolutely fabulous.